earlier this week on Monday, and now they are acting upon it. We're very excited about the prospect at the end of this week or the beginning of next. I don't know their schedule. It depends on how many bills, and amendments some of the Republicans want to be read. But I don't know so much about the, shall we say, the wisdom of that. However, or the value of the time of some of the people who are proposing that.
Everybody, here's what we have to know about the third stimulus check and the third stimulus bill. In this video, I'll be going over the latest news about our third stimulus check of $1,400 and $2,000. So if you want to stay up to date on all things stimulus related, then be sure to stay until the end of this video. Joe Biden has reportedly okayed the plan for Senate Democrats to change eligibility rules to target the stimulus checks away from Americans with higher incomes.
But nonetheless, we will, in a matter of several days, be sending back to the House, and then we'll send to the President the American Rescue Plan, the Biden American Rescue Plan, which we're very, very proud of, which, as we say, puts vaccines in the arms of the American people, money in the pockets of the American people, children in school safely, and workers back into their jobs, among other things. We're very proud of the legislation. We wish the Senate well in its deliberations. This is Congress working its will. We sent our product. They'll act upon it. Apparently there'll be some changes, so it will come back to the House. We'll review it and send it to the President.
And that means less people will receive the stimulus checks in the third stimulus bill. And do you qualify for the third stimulus check? Remember that in order to qualify for a $1,400 payment, you alone have to be making $75,000 and under. So tell me, folks, in the comments, do you qualify for the third stimulus check?
COVID relief plan that the president, by the way, I fully support helping people that need help, helping states and businesses that need help. I'm concerned that in the current plan, there's a lot of excess that is going to just add to the debt without creating a benefit to our economy or helping people that are in need. I'm concerned, for instance, that under the plan, many states that had no revenue loss or no deficit as a result of COVID and no unreimbursed COVID expenses, that they nonetheless are going to get billions and billions of dollars. I see that as a problem. Do you feel that's a problem as well?
Senator, I've always looked at, and I've worked on the coronavirus relief fund. We did $160 billion in bipartisan CARES bill. That money ran out in December. I've always looked at that fund as not just a revenue loss fund, but one that is meant to and designed to provide fiscal relief. So those states who are doing increased vaccine distribution, they have increased costs. This fund is also to ensure that they provide needed services. So I've looked beyond revenue loss as one of the agencies.
Of course. What I'm saying is, if a state had no net revenue loss, we had 21 states that revenue has gone up every year, even during the pandemic. 21 revenues have gone up, and we have reimbursed all their excess COVID expenses, and we raised the FMAP, so we provided greater support for their Medicaid. So these are states that are in fine financial shape. California, for instance, I understand their budget surplus this year is roughly $20 billion. And yet under the president's plan, we anticipating giving California another $27 billion. That doesn't make sense to me. Does this make sense to you?
Yes, sir. If you consider the regular budget did not account for a pandemic. So if we want states to step in and do a lot of these COVID relief activities.
Well, but all the COVID relief activities were reimbursed through the CARES Act, and anything not reimbursed is appropriately to be reimbursed. So I'm saying if the federal government agrees to provide all the funding necessary to reimburse COVID expenses that a state has, and it fills their budget gap from loss of revenue, I don't see a reason to give even more money to that state. I hope you'll look at that. I think
I'm happy to, sir. And we've certainly talked about bipartisanship. This is one, certainly some of the governors and locals, both parties, have given us data that says they are not just a need because of revenue loss, but because of the extra requirements for their citizens due to COVID.
I can assure you, as a former governor, if the federal government is going to be handing out billions of dollars, I'm going to have my hand out to get as much as I can. But these are dollars that are going to be paid for by our kids and our grandkids. They're being loaned to us by the Chinese, among others. We got to be really careful in what we send out. And what is being proposed under the president's plan is really not in line with what the actual results are that are being seen by states, because states are continuing to see revenue.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says that lawmakers remain on track to meet a mid-March deadline for completing the legislation, which means it could be just a couple of weeks before you have an additional $1,400. The stimulus checks are part of the $1.9 trillion rescue package that cleared the House last weekend and is now before the Senate. The Democrats who control Congress are pushing the bill through using a maneuver that allows passage with only simple majorities, meaning potentially no support from Republicans, not to win over conservative Democrats in the Senate. Joe Biden agreed on Wednesday to narrow the eligibility for stimulus checks. Here's how it works. Individuals earning less than $75,000 and couples making under $160,000 would still receive a full $1,400 payment. After that, the payments will begin to start phasing out. There will be no money for single taxpayers earning more than $80,000 or joint filers with incomes above $160,000. Above $160,000. Now previously, folks, the cutoff points were incomes of $100,000 for individuals and $200,000 for couples. But remember everybody, conservatives want the stimulus checks to be targeted toward needy Americans that are struggling with basic expenses. The first $1,200 checks last spring were primarily spent on essentials like food and rent. Some of that cash also was used for saving and investing, or for other things that may have included buying affordable life insurance. The legislation also includes a $400 a week in emergency federal unemployment benefits. Democrats are racing to get a bill to Biden before the current federal jobless benefits run out on March 14th. Senator Chuck Schumer said in a floor speech on Monday that he expected a hearty debate and some late nights in the Senate, although he seemed confident that Democrats could get the job done. A Senate vote may come as early as Friday morning, and then the bill be kicked back to the House for final approval before delivery to the White House. House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer expects that the last vote to take place on Monday. He says that he does not expect the Senate to make changes that will prevent final passage by the House. SSI and SCHUMER have some work incentives. One of the highest priorities of the Social Security Administration is to help people with disabilities achieve their independence by helping them take advantage of employment opportunities. Work incentive employment supports help disabled and blind SSI recipients go to work by minimizing the risk of losing their SSI or Medicaid benefits. Some incentives allow them not to count some of your income or resources. But other incentives let you continue to receive Medicaid coverage, even though you're not receiving SSI cash benefits.